Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Let us begin by chanting invocation prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे. So today we'll be discussing about something about Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada and the primary definition of the most important verse of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu of pure devotional service. So let me share one presentation with all of you. And meanwhile, you can please type in the chat section what are some of the points that you remember from yesterday's discussion. So some of the points from yesterday's discussion. Can you share? Any one point from yesterday's discussion? Okay, so what are those four regions? I hope you are able to see a presentation in front of you. And to see the presentation in full, you can put your mobile in a landscape mode if you are seeing it from the mobile. So this is all what we discussed yesterday. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the meaning of this terminology. Bhakti is devotion. Rasa mellow, Amrit nectar, Sindhu ocean, the nectar of devotion. Now Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, it's a Sanskrit word and we are using this word in English as nectar of devotion. So Rupa Goswami's purpose is to present the ocean of Bhakti Ras. Ras means mellow, the juice. It is just like ocean. The ocean in material world has limitation, but this ocean is unlimited. And we discussed how the purpose of nectar of devotion is to enable the readers enter into that ocean, dive deep into the ocean of devotion, the nectar of devotion. Now this literature has been composed by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compared bhakti to a great ocean. When he was speaking before Rupa Goswami, he said It is just like an ocean. So I will take a drop of it and you taste it, and you will understand what is this ocean. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described a small portion of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Bhakti, devotional service. There is rasa, taste, and the taste is Amrit, eternal. This is from one of the lectures of Srila Prabhupada on the nectar of devotion. So we have already discussed this. We won't go into detail very quickly. I wanted to discuss specifically something from this verse and about Srila Rupa Goswami. I think we discussed very little about Srila Rupa Goswami. So I wanted to discuss in a little bit more detail. So we'll chant this verse as an invocation. Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kanipuna Sadharma Sanstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyao Sharanaya Karo Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mattalika Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyuga Shri Jiva Gopalaka. We'll quickly go through the meaning of this verse. Nana Shastra. Nana means different varieties. Shastra is scriptures. Vicharanai means in scrutinizingly studying. Nana Shastra Vicharanai ka Nipunao. Nipun means expert. So who are uniquely expert. They are Nipun. They are Nipun in what? Sadharma Sanstapaka. They are expert in scrutinizingly studying various scriptures and on the basis of that presenting Shastric conclusion and establishing Sadharma, eternal religious principles. Then is Loka Nam Hit Karinuko Karino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanayaka. Lokana means for all human beings. Lokana Hit Karino. Lokanam Hit. उनके हित के लिए कारिणव who are the performers of beneficial activities. Lokanam Hit Karinav. Tribhuvane means throughout the three worlds. Manyav. Manyav means man dena, who are worthy of honor. Sharanaya Karav, and who are worth taking shelter of. They can provide the perfect shelter. Radha Krishna Padaravinda. So Radha Krishna Padaravinda means at the lotus feet. Bhajananandena. Anandena. Kiska Anand? Bhajan ka Anand. That means in the bliss of worshipping. Mattalika, who are intoxicated. Mat, बिल्कुल मत है इसमें. आनंद में. किसके आनंद में? भजनानंद में. वो आनंद कैसे प्राप्त होता है? राधा कृष्ण पदारविंद. At the lotus feet of Radha Krishna. Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyuga Shri Jiva Gopalaka. Right? So they wrote so many books just to establish what is real religion. Why? Lokanam Hita Karinam. They were simply doing welfare activities for people in general. Narottam Das Thakur writes, Rupa Raghunath Pade Hai Be Akuti Kabe Hama Bhuja Vese Yugala Piriti. He says, when I am eager to understand the literature given by the Goswamis, then I shall be able to understand the transcendental loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. One becomes qualified to understand the transcendental loving affairs of Radha and Krishna based upon his or her eagerness to understand the literatures given by the Goswamis. And that is why Srila Prabhupada gave us this literature, Nectar of Devotion, that is given by Srila Rupa Goswami. Now, who is Srila Rupa Goswami? We said Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya. Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam. When will he give me shelter under his lotus feet? Dadati. Dadati means to give. Swa means his own. Padantikam, his lotus feet. Swayam Rupa Kada. Kada, he's asking question. Kada, when? Mahiyam. When will he give shelter to me under his lotus feet? So the Rupanuga. The Krishna conscious movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Prabhupada write this in the Nectar of Instruction preface. So Rupa Nuga. Anuga means following and Rupa Nuga means following Srila Rupa Goswami, the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Prabhupada writes in Adi Leela in Gaur Ganodesh Tipika, it's one of the literature in which the author Kavi Karnapur has given which associate of Mahaprabhu is what are their identities in Braj Leela, in the Krishna Leela. So Srila Rupa Goswami is described as Gopi named Sri Rup Manjari in Krishna Leela. And who is Rupa Manjari? So we know that in Golok Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani is lovingly served by 8 principal gopis. Anyone knows the name of those 8 gopis? When we go to Mayapur, we have an altar of Shri Shri Radha, Madhav and Ashtasakhi. So can anyone say what are the names of those 8 gopis? Yeah, Lalita, Vishaka.
Lalita, Vishaka, Sridevi, Sudevi, Rangdevi, Chitra, Champaklata,
And
Tungvidya.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. So Lalita Sakhi is her dearest friend of Srimati Radharani, and they are all the primary Sakhis, Ashtasakhis. This is the most confidential, innermost circle of Radha and Krishna. They are assisted by Manjaris. Manjaris are the most intimate associates of Radha and Krishna. And among those 8 Manjaris, the leader of all those 8 Manjaris is Shri Rupa Manjari. And the same Rupa Manjari descent into this world as Srila Rupa Goswami. So they please the sweet divine couple by carrying messages, preparing tasty beverages, stringing fragrant flower garlands, etc. So the 6 Goswamis and Loknath Goswami and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, they comprise the innermost circle of Manjaris who assist Radha Krishna in their transcendental loving eternal pastimes. So this is given by Rupa Goswami, all the 6 Goswamis and their corresponding Swarup in Krishna Leela. Rup Manjari, Vilas Manjari, Lavang Manjari, Rati Manjari, Rag Manjari, Guna Manjari, Kasturi Manjari, and Manjali Manjari. So just like before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, Lord Krishna enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma with the details of creation and manifested the Vedic knowledge. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya manifested the knowledge of the field of bhakti within the heart of Srila Rupa Goswami. So he instructed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sri Rupa Goswami at the Ashwamedh Ghat for 10 days. And he empowered him to spread the message of Krishna consciousness. And even during the time of Srila Prabhupada's initiation in 1933 at from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at that time Prabhupada's own spiritual master instructed him to study this book, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the law book on devotional service. And later on, Srila Prabhupada translated the same book in the English language for the benefit of whole world. And Srila Rupa Goswami, upon accepting sannyas also, he lived and stayed at Radha Damodar temple. His rooms are still there in the Radha Damodar temple. And it is that place in the association of Srila Rupa Goswami, because Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi is situated at Radha Damodar temple. And Jeev Goswami Samadhi is also there at Radha Damodar temple. So Srila Prabhupada used to stay there and he used to translate Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, and he used to serve at Samadhi, very humble and menial service, and he would gather all the strength and inspiration. And we know that past time when Srila Rupa Goswami personally appeared to Srila Prabhupada and instructed him to go to the west. And this very place, Radha Damodar temple, is called to be the center of the wheel of spiritual world. It is such a potent place. And Srila Prabhupada writes, I eternally reside in my rooms at the Radha Damodar temple. So Srila Prabhupada's decision to stay in Radha Damodar Mandir was an indication of his conscious and fervent desire to live, serve and write under the shelter of Srila Rupa Goswami, and to very practically seek his blessings for his life's mission of translating the Srimad Bhagavatam and preaching in the West. So as we see from these descriptions that Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada derived inspiration from Srila Rupa Goswami, who composed this literature of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And Srila Rupa Goswami is the leader of all the manjaris, which are the most confidential servants of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. And the same Rup Manjari appears as Srila Rupa Goswami, and this same Srila Rupa Goswami has given us this transcendental literature, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So we can just try to estimate the potency, the importance and the significance of this literature of Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. It is compiled directly by the most confidential servant of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. So, simply by studying this literature repeatedly, in depth, again and again, and implementing in our own lives, you can get all the qualification, whatever is necessary to receive, to invoke our love of Radha and Krishna and make our life successful. So this one book can provide all the benedictions and blessings in our lives. Okay. So are you seeing anything on the screen? Or has it gone blank?
It is visible, Prabhuji.
Huh?
It is visible.
It is visible?
Yes.
Okay. So today we'll continue where we left yesterday. We were discussing. Just a second. This is what we discussed yesterday. Are you able to see the screen now? So we discussed the preface. In the preface, are you able to see the cursor also? Are you able to see the cursor also? Okay. So just give attention to the where I'm pointing the cursor. So we discussed about history, about Srila Rupa Goswami's position. He's one of the 6 Goswamis and explicitly connected to Krishna. And today also we discussed something about Srila Rupa Goswami, how he is the most confidential servant of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. And we discussed something about history of Nectar of Devotion, and that how we all are Rupanugas, and this parampara is coming directly from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami and to present day Srila Prabhupada. Right? And then we discussed something about the purpose of Nectar of Devotion. So there are 6 purposes that were listed. One of the purposes is to make each of us a Goswami. We discussed about Bhakti Rasa and mundane material Rasa. We discussed how material Rasa is Chapala Sukha and temporary, and Bhakti Rasa is eternal, it is unlimited, oceanic. Then we discussed this, one of the purposes of Nectar of Devotion in preface Srila Prabhupada writes is to give practical hints to live in material world by devotional service, to stimulate original love in 5 different rasas, and signs of perfectly loving all living entities through loving Krishna. And it is also to nurture devotional life of practicing devotees. So this is just an overview of the preface of what we discussed yesterday. So then we came to the introduction part. Now this is still from the preface, and it is much more in detail. What exactly is Bhakti Rasa and what is material Rasa? So Bhakti Rasa, what is Bhakti? It connotates devotional love. Are you able to see? Just see the first, this branch. Bhakti connotates devotional love. Love implies service, and service is an act which refers to the service refers to an activity that is intended to please the beloved. And then Srila Prabhupada gives an example that how people are trying to put their loving propensity in different places, from the primary stage of family to society to humanity, and how loving someone is a basic propensity, we cannot live without it, and we can get fulfillment only when this loving propensity is connected to Krishna. And it is like watering the root, and Krishna is the one switch that brightens all. So that is about Bhakti. Prabhupada gives this entire analogy, gives this entire flow. Then is about Rasa, juice, and then we discussed about there is mundane Rasa and there is Bhakti Rasa. It's Chapal Sukh, oscillating between Bhog and Tyag, and it's temporary. And then there is Bhakti Rasa, which is eternal. Amrita is eternal, fresh. And Sindhu, it's an ocean of pleasure. So that was a preface yesterday. Then we discussed about the introduction, and we discussed about Mangalacharan. We discussed about the contents, and of course definition of pure devotional service, that we'll be doing today. So we discussed about how the objective, Mangalacharan, we discussed it has 3 components. It defines the objective of the book, it pays obeisances, and it offers benediction. What is the objective of the book that we discussed? Objective of the book is Krishna as Akhila Rasamrit Murti. And we discussed how Krishna is a reservoir of all pleasure, and it's the attractor of gopis. And then we discussed about Narayan and Vrindavan Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gives an analogy of a judge, a person in office, judge in the courtroom is on official purpose, but when the same person is at its home, it reveals that person is at natural self and can reveal all the confidential and intimate dealings with his family members. So similarly, Krishna at home is Vrindavan Krishna, Akhila Rasamrit Murti, and that Akhila Rasamrit Murti, Vrindavan Krishna, is the goal of Nectar of Devotion and attractor of gopis. You are not able to see the screen? Is the screen visible to you, all of you?
Visible, Prabhuji.
Okay. So then we also discussed about how that Akhila Rasamrit Murti is the attractor of the gopis, where we discuss the verse. It subjugates Taraka and Palika and absorbs Shama and Lalita. And that Akhila Rasamrit Murti Krishna is the submissive lover of Radharani. So then the second we discussed about the obeisances. Srila Rupa Goswami is offering obeisances to the Lord, to the Guru and to the Vaishnavas, and those Vaishnavas are compared to the shark, and we discussed about the various reasons why they are being compared to the shark. And then the benedictions, that what was the benediction? The reader would be protected from the volcanoes of uh, argumentative logicians, and it would be free from impersonalist misconception. So we also discussed about how this ocean has four sides: Eastern, Purvi Vibhag, Dakshin Vibhag, Paschim Vibhag, and Uttari Vibhag. And we discussed about the eastern waves. Each section have certain waves, Leher. So under the eastern Vibhag, the first wave is of Samanya Bhakti, second wave is of Sadhana Bhakti, third wave is of Bhav Bhakti, fourth wave is of Prema Bhakti. Different categories and stages of devotional service. That all comes under the Eastern Vibhag. And these are just the chapter numbers. The first gender description is given in introduction in chapter 1. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is given in chapter 2 to 16. Bhav Bhakti is in the next two chapters, and Prema Bhakti is in the chapter 19. So we'll concentrate on the definition of pure devotional service. So is it clear till now? In the introduction, we discussed about Mangalacharan, then we discussed about the contents of this book, and this is the third section that talks about the definition of pure devotional service. The first 6 verses were related to the Mangalacharan, the next verses were described the division of this book, and now this particular verse, Srila Rupa Goswami defines as the definition of pure devotional service. Anyabhilashitam shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanu bhaktiruttama. Can someone read the translation?
When first class devotional,
one must be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained by monastic, no sweet and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires.
Okay. So this is a verse about a pure devotional service. Now, this verse defines pure devotional service. Now, what is the criteria that any particular act is counted under the Uttama Bhakti? What are the different criterias? So whatever those criterias are, they can be divided into 2 aspects. One is the Swarup Lakshan, that means the primary aspects, which are the most important. If you have to assess them, you have to first of all assess them on the Swarup Lakshana, that the primary characteristics, whether they qualify under those parameters or not. So once they are qualified on those parameters, then there are secondary Tatastha Lakshana as well. So we'll go through them one by one. So there are 3 Swarupa Lakshana within this verse. First of all, can someone tell what, just by seeing the verse, what can be the first Swarupa Lakshana? Out of this, which is the most important phrase? Anyabhilashita shunyam Jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena Krishnaanushīlanam bhaktiruttama. Are you clear with the meaning of this verse? See, bhaktir uttama. Uttama means first class, pure devotional service, bhakti. What kind of bhakti? Anya bhilashita shunyam. Free from all other desires. Anya bhilashita shunyam means zero. What kind of desires are zero? Anya bhilashita. Any other desire than to please Krishna. Gyan karmadi anavritam, which are free from the propensities of gyan and karma. Anukulyena means favorable. Krishnanu Shilanam. Krishna and Anushilanam. Bhaktir Uttama. So what is the most important criteria among this?
Anukulyan Krishna Anushilanam.
The first and foremost is Krishna. The first one is actually Krishna. It is written as per the, the sequence of the words Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. The pure devotional service is for Krishna. It is not for anyone else. Of all the primary characteristics, this is the most important of all features. So, if one says, it may seem little bit too exclusive, but devotion is only for Krishna and no one else. So then what about the people around us? Can't we also love them? So that's why in the introduction, Srila Prabhupada says, when we speak of Krishna, we refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead along with his many expansions. So in other words, Krishna and his expansions are proper recipients of our pure devotion. Right? So all the expansions like Baladev, Sankarshan, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Rama, Narsingha, Varaha, all other incarnations and innumerable Vishnu expansion, they all constitute Krishna. So Krishna includes all the expansions as well as his pure devotees. And then later on in the introduction part, if you remember, we read that Krishna also includes Krishna's paraphernalia, his transcendental abode and his transcendental activities. So the conclusion is that Krishna is the singular target of pure devotion. So if anyone has this one pointed love for Krishna, it automatically means that one would love everything directly connected to him. Right? So that is the first and foremost, the Lakshana, that is Krishna. Then the second is Anushilanam. What does Anushilanam means? Anushilanam means to cultivate. Anu means किसी के अनुगत रहकर. Shilanam means cultivate करना. When we say cultivate, it means that that service is a practical activity. It is not something simply in the mind. Of course, something in mind is also an activity. We are not undermining that importance. A devotional service is an active engagement. So, Anushilanam means it is cultivation by following the predecessor acharyas, teachers, acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada writes, as soon as we say cultivation, we refer to activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. This is the most second important point. So there are two aspects of this Anushilanam. One is pravritti, means doing some things which are favorable, and the other is nivritti, avoidance of activities which are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. And we can perform both privritti and nivritti with what? Body, mind and words. When we say activity, activity is performed by three things: body, mind and words. So when we say Anushilanam, it means doing something favorable with body, mind and words, and nivritti, avoiding activities from our body, mind and words, which are not favorable to these principles. Is it clear? So Krishna Anushilanam. That means devotional service is possible only by mercy of Krishna and his devotees. Without the assistance of the disciplic succession, Shilanam cannot connect to Krishna. That is why there is prefix Anu, Anushilanam, which means the cultivation that is connected to Krishna through the medium of spiritual teachers. So that is the second characteristic, Anushilanam. And that is why Srila Prabhupada also writes that since all the activities of devotional service follow Krishna's desire, they are the part of internal spiritual energy. And Srila Prabhupada writes, any activities done in devotional service are directly under the control of spiritual energy. Right? So when we follow a bona fide spiritual master, we link our energies and activities to Krishna's internal potency, and thus they become spiritualized. And Srila Prabhupada writes in introduction that energy is a sort of strength, and this strength can be spiritualized by the mercy of both the bona fide spiritual master and Krishna. So is it becoming clear? So that was the second parameter, that is of Sarup Lakshan of Bhakti. And the third is Anukulyena. Anukulyena means what? We discussed in detail on the first day as well about a favorable intention to please Krishna. So without Anushilanam, the definition is devotional service as activity for Krishna's pleasure. So, but sometimes we discuss how Krishna derives pleasure even from persons who are not inclined towards him. From many demons, sometimes please Krishna because they offer Krishna an opportunity to fight, and they provide Krishna with an opportunity to protect his devotees. So sometimes Krishna may become pleased by their activities. But does that mean that they are doing bhakti? No. So the favorable intention to please Krishna must be there. So to explain this, Jiva Goswami gives an example. He gives an analogy of a warrior and weapon. So Jiva Goswami says that when a king calls for a sentry, it is expected that sentry will appear properly dressed and armed. Similarly, Krishna Anushilanam must be accompanied by Anukulyena, a favorable attitude. So the two elements are inseparable. Just like wherever a king goes, he is accompanied by his retinue. Similarly, wherever there is Krishna Anushilanam, it has to be followed by Anukulyena, a favorable intent. That makes the core of this bhakti. So if an activity pleases Krishna but was not intended to do so, that activity is not bhakti. So you are preaching and you are doing the japa and we are doing this reading session. So it may please Krishna, but if it is not done with an attitude of pleasing Krishna, that technically does not come under the purview of bhakti, and that will not give the it will not enable us to dive in that bhakti rasamrit sindhu. If you want to taste that nectar, if you want to taste that spiritual bliss, what is the most important part? Performing this set of activities with the intention to please Krishna. This is the most important part. If you are missing this part, then technically not much advancement. And it won't give much of realization. It won't give much of, technically they won't come under the purview of bhakti. So to qualify an act to come under the field of bhakti, it has to go through these three primary characteristics. Number one is Krishna. The goal is Krishna. Anushilanam. It has to be a practical engagement with body, with mind, and with speech. And third, it has to be performed with the intention to please Krishna. So now, apart from these three, there are Tatastha Lakshan also. What are those Tatastha Lakshan? They are two in number. One is
अन्याभिलषितं शून्यं.
one is Anya Bhilashita Shunyam. What does Anya Bhilashita Shunyam means? That Anya means other, Abhilashita means desire, and Shunyam means void. So it's free from any other desire. So void of any other desire except for the service of the Lord. Right? So any desire which is outside of the purview of service of the Lord is called a material desire. Any desire which is not connected to Krishna or for his pleasure, that is a material desire. So one must be free from that material desire. The second is Gyan Karmadi Anavritam. It should not be covered by Gyan or Karma. So Gyan means what? Philosophical speculation. It is not that we completely rule out philosophical speculation, but if this philosophical speculation or our philosophical interest becomes more prominent than our concentration on simple bhakti, so that will also cover our devotional attitude and it disqualifies us from pure devotional service. So the ultimate end of all kinds of philosophical speculation must be Krishna and service to him, to have that understanding that Krishna is everything. Krishna is the cause of all causes and one should therefore take shelter of him. If that ultimate goal is reached, then philosophical advancement is favorable. But if the conclusion of philosophical speculation is leading to impersonal voidism, that is not bhakti. Or one takes so much interest in philosophical speculation that he forgets the goal, that my goal was to please Krishna and please Vaishnavas, and he becomes, then also his devotional attitude can be covered. So that is about jnana. And karma, that means what? All kinds of ritualistic pursuits. Which means what? If one is engaged in ordinary social and religious activities, but these engagements should not become more prominent than our engagement in bhakti. If such activities overshadows our attention to devotional activities such as hearing and chanting, then they also cover our devotional attitudes and it disqualifies us from the pure devotional service. Right? Therefore, in the introduction part, Srila Prabhupada writes, there are many persons who are very much attracted to ritualistic activities described in the Vedas. But if one becomes attracted simply to ritualistic activities without understanding Krishna, his activities are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. One becomes so much absorbed in ritualistic activities that he forgets the goal is to please Krishna and it is not leading him in the further understanding of Krishna. So that also disqualifies one from pure devotional service. Can someone give any example? So one example of ritualistic activity that do not cover devotional service can be some of the social conventions. Just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaurang Mahaprabhu, he went to Gaya and he offered Pindadan for after his father's death. So that kind of conventional activities which do not cover pure devotional service, they are acceptable. But one of the example which may cover, we are not saying which can cover, is astrology. So astrology has a specific purpose. But if a devotee puts more faith in astrology than in the power of bhakti, so it can impede one's progress or surrender to Krishna. One may become so much involved in the astrological predictions and this chart and that chart that his faith becomes more on the power of destiny or astrology than on the process of bhakti or Krishna. Then it can cover one's devotional activity, right? And then it is Srila Rupa Goswami, it also read Gyan Karmadi. Then there is a third aspect also, Adi. One is Gyan, Karma and Adi. So Adi means all the other pursuits, just like renunciation, just like yoga. And so we can all utilize all these processes, no problem. But if they cover our bhakti, then they can disqualify us from the pure devotional service. So those other pursuits can be undertaken, but they has to remain the secondary. Primary pursuit has to be the pleasure of Krishna and the process, the Bhagavad, the 9 forms devotional service. They should be the primary focus of a sadhaka's attention, right? So pure devotional service is what? It is an activity which is intended to please Krishna without ulterior motive and not covered by philosophical or fruitive pursuits, right? And that is why we can see that Srila Rupa Goswami definition of Uttama Bhakti is so precise and so perfect. Each and every word of this definition is so precise that we cannot neglect it and we cannot mistake it for anything else. And it applies to all the stages of devotees. Those who are in the beginning stage, middle stage or the advanced stage. And also one important thing is yeah. The word anu suggests that one should engage himself in the service of the Lord without any interval. That is another meaning that of anu. He must be engaged in service 100% and always. There must not be any interruption in such progress of devotional service. If he is not continuously engaged in the cultivation of devotional service, it can't be called Uttama Bhakti. It's not pure devotional service. So someone might come into the temple and the deity might inspire him and he might put some money in the box just to please the deity, or he might want to sing some bhajan just to please the deity, and then he goes out and does everything else. So that's not pure devotional service. It has to be a systematic cultivation. Anukulyena means Krishna should get pleasure and devotee's attitude toward Krishna should be favorable. And what does Krishna means? Krishna includes all this. Krishna as a personality, various expansion, his paraphernalia, Krishna's pure devotees. So this is a summary of Sarup Lakshan, and this is, so important thing to note is in this word Anya Abhilashita, Anya Abhilash. So that is any other desire apart from serving Krishna. But let's say one has a desire, one is in the danger, and he has a he prays to Krishna for his own protection. So will that come under Uttama Bhakti or no? Because he's desiring for his own self. If one is in a danger and he prays to Krishna, Krishna please protect me. So his focus is on his own self and not on Krishna. So will that be counted as pure devotional service? And that is why Srila Rupa Goswami writes here as Ita. So such natural desires which are based upon, for one's own survival, they are not excluded from this definition. So they can be there included. And that is the meaning of Ita, Anya Abhilashita. Anavritam is not covered. So it means what? If your goal is Krishna, and if you're doing an activity to please him on a very systematic way, day by day, and your intention, if you're working on your intention to please Krishna, that means what? Even in your present state, you can perform Uttama Bhakti. It is not that you have to be purified completely and only then you can render pure devotional service. In whatever stage you are, in your existing, current, present state, you can perform Uttama Bhakti. It is simply a matter of cultivation. It is simply a matter of taking a call and decision in your life. It is simply a matter of working on your intention. If our goal is Krishna, and if we are doing activities regularly, if we are performing our sadhana regularly, performing our services and occupational duties, and we keep our intention that this activity, my dear Krishna, I offer to you, these are for your pleasure. So you are in the field of Uttama Bhakti. Right? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this commentary says, in death-threatening situation, a devotee may say, "Oh Lord, please save me, your devotee, now from this danger." So because it is sudden, temporary desire, it is not harmful to his bhakti. That is because the desire arises beyond his control, opposite of his devotional nature. That desire is not his nature. So therefore, superficial fleeting desire or desires for self-preservation do not exclude one from pure devotional service. And thus, pure devotional service can be executed in the stage of sadhana bhakti. It is not that you have to come to the level of prema bhakti, only then you can render pure devotional service. In the stage of sadhana bhakti also, you can render pure devotional service. So if you have become clear, very technically sound and clear about what is bhakti, what is uttama bhakti, what are the parameters of uttama bhakti. If you know all these details, right, then you will be situated in knowledge, and then you can direct your activities accordingly. And right in the present stage, you can be performing uttama bhakti. So that is about uttama. Okay. I also wanted to cover the cycle of sin in the chapter 1. Let's see, time is up. Okay, so any questions from what we discussed today? Oh, just a second. Let me see if I get a quick exercise sheet. So based upon what we discussed, I'm sharing one sheet with you. So you have to tell whether that scenario is Uttama Bhakti or not, and you have to give reason why. So point 1. Are you able to see? So a new devotee wants to take initiation from a pure Vaishnava Guru who has many disciples in the zone because he will get better facility after initiation. So you have to tell whether it is Uttama Bhakti or not. If not, then why it is not. Which parameter or which criteria you are assessing on which criteria. It's a Gyan, Karmadi, and it's not centered. So these, you have to refer to these Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana is Anya Bilashita Shunyam and Gyan Karmadi Anavritam. And Sarup Lakshana is Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. So you have to tell about from this Anya Bhilashita Shunyam, Gyan Karmadi Anavrita or Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Which particular thing from the part of definition you have to tell. And there is a second point. A full-time temple pujari accepts financial maintenance from the temple for his grihastha maintenance. So, what is your opinion? The third is a devotee daily cooks offering of bhoga for the deity in the temple and he often burns preparation. A grihastha devotee regularly bathes the feet of Vaishnavas visiting his home. A devotee makes life members because he can keep 10% of his collection for his own use. Anyway, if we discuss so much, we'll go too slow. Already time is up. So much that can be discussed. Fine, we'll stop here. Anyone has any question? Okay.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandatam.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I have a doubt. When we talk about philosophical speculation, तो जब हमें बहुत शास्त्रास पढ़ने में इंटरेस्ट होता है और प्रभुपाद की बुक्स हम पढ़ते हैं, लेकिन हम प्रैक्टिकल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में बहुत बारी फेल होते हैं और सारा दिन हम मतलब कुछ बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज में होते हैं जपा में, बट बहुत बारी हम मिसिंग पॉइंट इज कृष्णा, मतलब हम बहुत बार भगवान को प्लीज करने का इंटेंशन भूल जाते हैं कि मैं शास्त्र पढ़ रहा हूँ भगवान की प्रसन्नता के लिए. तो प्रभु ये फिलोसफिकल स्पेकुलेशन में आएगा और ये उत्तमा भक्ति का ये आता है या नहीं आता, मतलब बिकॉज बहुत बार हम फेल हो जाते हैं भगवान को रिमेम्बर करने में, भोगा कुक कर रहे हैं लेकिन वी फॉरगेट समटाइम्स दैट वी आर कुकिंग फॉर कृष्णा.
So when we are reading Srila Prabhupada books, this contains number one, association of pure devotees. Number two, it contains the messages which are directly spoken by Sri Krishna. Third, they are meant to inspire us in devotional service. So, and definitely the association of pure devotee and those instruction roots out our impersonal conception from our heart. So that is definitely not under. It is very very favorable to the pure devotional service. So even if we are not able to implement in our practical day-to-day life, so it doesn't mean we leave them. It simply means we try more and we make a conscious effort and decisions in our life. So that doesn't come under philosophical speculation. Philosophical speculation, how can you recognize? Primarily by two things. One, that conception is leading us to impersonalism, the philosophy of impersonalism. So that is strictly avoided. Second, the motive of performing bhakti is simply to get rid of miseries. That we want to perform bhakti, why? Because we want to go back to Godhead. Why we want to go back to Godhead? Because material world is dukkhalaya. The only reason of performing devotional service is that I myself do not suffer again. There is no Krishna in the picture and there is no service to Krishna, no pleasure of Krishna involved. So these two parameters you can recognize about jnana, the kind of jnana that is described in this verse. Just like impersonalists, they're simply after liberation or the moksha. Why? Because they want to end all sufferings. But a devotee, just like we will see in the chapter 1, one of the characteristics is it derides even the conception of liberation. If you multiply the bliss of liberation by 1 trillion times, it will come in the chapter 1. Still, it cannot compare to the 1 drop of this Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. The bliss that is derived by just one drop of Bhakti Rasa cannot compare. So a devotee derides even the conception of liberation. So these two parameters you can define. That is prohibited. That disqualifies one from the realm of pure devotional service. As far as we are concerned, we are making an effort and not able to implement. It simply requires, and it takes time and it happens gradually. It doesn't mean we become discouraged or disheartened. It simply means the purpose of reading the Shastras is to fine-tune our consciousness, to intensify and to grow more. That is why it is said Anushilanam. It is a cultivation. It is not one-time process. It is a regular cultivation. Cultivation means what? It's not that you water the plant one day and it will bear fruits. No, every single day you have to water the plant. Anyone has any experience of growing a garden? How much care and how much patience and how much you have to work towards it. So similarly, you have been given the seed of devotional service. Now, how you manifest that seed into a beautiful garden, that is up to you. We all have been given the seeds of bhakti. To water that seed, to protect from all the anti-elements, and to turn it into a beautiful garden. That is Jiva's free will. That is all of us are individual work. So it is up to you how beautiful garden you would like to grow within your own heart of devotional service. Right? Fine.
Haribol Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, can you give your assignment regarding the case studies for these all you have discussed today, so that we can get more feel of this bhakti?
I'll mail that.
Oh, sure. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
So we'll stop.
Bhajantam,
Yeah, anything.
yes, a single doubt I have.
प्रभु जी ज्ञान ज्ञान को कैसे समझे या किस ज्ञान की बात की जा रही है? ज्ञान को कैसे समझे? ज्ञान कर्मादि अनावृतम, ज्ञान अनावृतम, ज्ञान which ज्ञान?
I was discussing that only for so long. Previous question was based upon this Gyan only. So Gyan means,
Yes, still I.
so Gyan is of two types. One is Gyan, which is transcendental knowledge about devotional service. So that kind of Gyan is not rejected. So the knowledge of transcendental knowledge of that bhakti is helpful. That kind of Gyan is specifically spoken about the impersonal Gyan, in which Krishna is not the goal. The impersonal conception is the goal. And the ultimate purpose of cultivating that Gyan is simply to end material miseries. There is no positive engagement in the devotional service. If you read Bhagavad Gita and if you read Yoga Ladder, first is Karma, then is Jnana, then is Dhyana, and then comes the Bhakti. So the kind of Jnana that comes in that ladder, Krishna is not the goal of that Jnana. Only by association of a pure devotee, one gets the knowledge of Krishna. So this kind of Jnana is not rejected. So that's why the Bhakti Gyan, that is why so much Vedic literature is there. If Jnana is rejected, why would Vyasadeva would have written so much of literature? Why would Rup Goswami would write Nectar of Devotion if the entire Jnana is rejected? So we are getting this knowledge by Rup Goswami, that is also Gyan, but that is related to Bhakti, and that is very favorable. The kind of Jnana, it has a specific context which is related to impersonal Jnana. That disqualifies us. And there are many persons who want simply to become a Jnani, they want to become a scholar. Their aspiration to become a scholar is much more than the aspiration to please Krishna or to perform any sort of devotional service. Just like Keshav Kashmiri, you see the pastime of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. So Keshav Kashmiri, his only thing was to how to defeat everyone and how to establish himself as Digvijay. But he had no knowledge of Krishna and he had no knowledge of devotional service. So that kind of a jnana disqualifies one from Uttama Bhakti. And if you see from the pastimes of Nimai, before exhibiting his pastimes as Vaishnavas, he used to have a lot of debates and arguments and establish one thing. And if you read Chaitanya Bhagavat, so that kind of jnana disqualifies one. But the devotional jnana, only after he met Mahaprabhu and Mahaprabhu gave him Krishna prema. So that kind of devotional pursuits are favorable. Right?
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much.
Thank you very much for your kind attention. And simply to cover, it will take just 3-4 classes just to set up a proper theme and mode, and then we'll resume the normal, continue the reading parameters. So just don't miss out those verses. Please pick those sheets. You already have sheets. Take out just 5-10 minutes and go through that verses, recite them, try to memorize them. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Thank you, Rajshekhar Prabhu. You are still at hospital, and this really shows your eagerness to participate in this session, and we really appreciate your presence. Thank you very much for your eagerness and with your continued dedication. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.